A few weeks ago, we embarked on a brand new journey where I'm trying to turn $3,000 into $5,000 by trading cryptocurrencies. So far, we've had some ups and downs, with the account reaching as much as $4,000 while also dipping as low as 3.3k. But right now, we're hovering around a steady $3.7 to $3.8,000. So we ended last video on March the 17th, but later that day, I did actually end up opening a couple new positions, which were Maker, Arweave, Fallen Network, and Render, all being €100 positions. But that brings us to today, which is March the 18th. So far, I started the day by opening another position. I bought €100 worth of Jido coin, and that really hadn't been the best decision as it went down pretty much straight away. Other than that, the day's been pretty quiet. Everything is kind of moving horizontally, so I haven't really spotted any buy or sell opportunities. Later that evening though, I went to play padel with some friends, and on the way back, I noticed a coin was starting to gain some momentum. So I decided to put $100 into Null's coin, and not even half an hour, that 100 turned into 131. So I immediately cashed out. That's a 31% increase. So 31% profits in not even half an hour. That's more than 1% per minute.
Always guys, respect the pump.
But since I'm a greedy little man, I put 100 more into this coin right after cashing out. But at this point, the coin was already kind of maxed out.
Turn it up! That's the max.
It is the max, that's the max.
It dipped well below my initial investment, and I was even running close to losing all the profits we made just minutes earlier. Man, I really gotta learn to be less greedy sometimes. FOMO still gets the better of me, but it's really hurting the challenge at times. Anyway, let's check out for today and pick things back up tomorrow.
Greetings, my fellow Sigmas.
Okay, good news. I woke up healthy today. I had a good workout. The sun is shining. Bad news, the portfolio is dropping, like a lot, like actually a lot. I woke up today and the portfolio has dropped more than 10% overnight, making our total a mere €3,400. This is running dangerously close to our all-time low. But not everything is as bad. Every single coin is in the red except Phantom over here, so I sold, locking in a nice 18% profit. I'm actually pretty happy to have sold this one. Ever since I bought Phantom, I've been running in the negative, so to be able to sell this one and make a profit is definitely a welcome surprise. Anyway, I did also buy another coin. Since everything was down so much, I finally decided to buy some Ethereum. Along with Bitcoin and Solana, this is actually a coin I believe in, so while Ethereum was trading at around $3,100, I finally bought my first position. But overall, today has been pretty miserable, so let's see what tomorrow brings. I mean, it cannot be much worse, right? Well, it can. Today we dropped into the 3200s, which is by far the lowest point I've seen this portfolio at. It's actually pretty worrying. If this keeps up, we might need to resort to other ways of making money. Well, if anything, it is good for the plot. But I still hold to believe that most coins loosely follow what Bitcoin does. I mean, just look at these two charts right next to each other. They're pretty much identical, but the first one is Bitcoin and the other one is my entire portfolio. So it's kind of explicable why the portfolio is dropping right now, because Bitcoin is dropping as well. But still, 3200s, that's a little sad.
Always guys, respect the
dip.
But luckily, that insane drop didn't last too long. The next morning we were back at the €3,600 mark, which is okay. Last video I talked about how I wanted to take more regular profit instead of waiting for those massive pumps. But I also want to include limiting my losses as well. Yesterday was a horrible day, made even worse because most of the individual coins that I owned that went down were at some point either in the negative just by 5% or slightly positive. So I think limiting my losses as well as taking profits much earlier is going to really be beneficial for the overall portfolio. Not only will we be taking faster profits, but also lower losses. Both are a win in my book. Now, speaking of books, today I bought €100 worth of a meme coin called Book of Meme. Yeah, I keep telling you guys I'm learning these lessons. I'm really not. Other than Book of Meme, I also took a €100 position in LTO Network and a €60 position in Polymesh. These positions are kind of wobbling throughout the day, neither large losses nor large gains. But the same can't be said for Jasmine coin. I bought €100 worth of this coin this evening as I spotted an upward trend, but right after I bought, the coin started to dip, so instead of waiting and selling for a 30% loss, I instead sold now at a 5% loss. But yeah, old habits die hard.
Should I do it? I'm gonna do it!
As not even 12 hours later, I took another position in this coin, this time with €50, which so far has been somewhat steady. Yeah. So it's been a few days and some things have happened. So March the 22nd, nothing really happened. There was a slight dip that also continued into the 23rd, but the 24th however was a lot more fun. We first cashed out on our LTO position, locking in a nice 12% profit. But a familiar coin was in the middle of another bump. Remember nulls, which we made like 30% profit on in like 30 minutes? Yeah, it was on another run again. So when I was 20% in the green, I sold and we netted another 20%. But right after the coin started to dip slightly, I entered another position and we made another 10% in like a couple of minutes. Nulls has got to be the most profitable coin so far. Overall, we netted about 45% on those positions, making for a pretty successful day. And the overall market was also kind of stabilizing. Our portfolio is now hovering around the 3,650 euro mark, which is still a ways to go to our all-time high, but at least we're not so close to the 3,000 mark. Over the next few days, the account mostly moved horizontally with not all that much happening. I did end up discussing with the team and opened a few new positions, those being 0x, Reserve Right and Storm X, all being 100 euro positions. So far though, most of these are in the negative, but you know, we cannot end on a loss. Alright, and just as I was about to wrap up recording for the day, something cool happened. A few days ago we bought Polymesh, but our timing was kind of off, so we missed most of the profits. Well, just now it entered into another fantastic pump. So even after running a negative for a few days, I just sold the position for 50% in the green. And the Polymesh pump was only the beginning. Although none of the individual positions are spiking, the overall portfolio is going up by quite a lot. Most of our largest losses are now less larger losses, so that's a positive in my book. And honestly, this all kind of feels like the typical 80-20 rule, where 80% of the gains are most likely coming from 20% of the holdings. Both in this video as well as the last video, only a couple of coins made up most of the profits, but as long as those profits outperform the losses, I'm definitely fine with it. And that trend continued throughout the next days, as we kept creeping closer to that 4,000 euro mark again. During the 27th, I ended up not opening any new positions, but on the 28th, I bought 50 euros worth of Komodo. That turned out to be a pretty good play, because the next day I was able to sell this position for 40% profit. I also bought 50 euros worth of OMG Network, Acropolis, and then 100 euros into Civic. Alright, so both of these, as well as pretty much every other coin so far, are speculative plays. So let me explain my weird logic behind actually acquiring these coins. Looking at the all-time graphs of one of these coins, you can see that during both hype cycles, they got pumped quite a lot, like multiple 100%. So the idea, or probably hope, is that during this cycle, the coin is also going to be pumped to around those levels. And even if the pump is going to be much less than before, we will still be up by quite a lot. And by putting smaller amounts of money into each of these potentially large growing coins, it's kind of my way of diversifying. I got multiple eggs in my crypto basket. But yeah, I know there's actually very little logic behind this explanation, but it's what I'm trying to do and we'll see if it works. I'm glad we ended on a couple of wins, because honestly the last couple of weeks haven't been too great. And as of recording and editing this video, we're not really moving in the right direction either. We're not at a loss, but I think I'm mainly going to be focusing on making these videos when something noteworthy happens and when there's actually something to share again. That said, we're still at a solid 23% in the positive, which is honestly very solid for just a few weeks worth of time. Right now the account is just under that magical 4K number, but who knows, maybe next episode we can finally reach that 5K. But until then...